Talking Point platform. Oh yeah. Talking Point platform. TTPTV. Oh yeah. Unale we pledge with love and loyalty to we sweet, sweet mama Salone. Now we all come together as one. For tomorrow, now we go make Salone.
With nothing but unadulterated information. For sure, we are your trusted election op. We will give you a round-the-clock update and a precise look and picture of the election.
We will uncover and probe the business side of the polls.
Who's buying whose vote and why you should be concerned.
We will assemble all the experts shaping the conversation.
Before, during, and after the elections.
We are ready. The tax ahead, we are more than ready.
We are your home of all things credible, factual, and all times balanced.
AYV, AYV,
AYV,
AYV,
AYV.
All right, thank you very much, Mattia and Elizabeth. In our top stories this morning, the Supreme Court of Sierra Leone has struck out the action filed in by Paul Camara and Reverend Almami Coulson Toure on the 17th May 2023 against the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone ECSL and the APC presidential candidate Dr. Samuel Matthew Wilson Camara and the APC party for compliance to the Supreme Court of Sierra Leone and Rule 90 subsection 1 and the public and of Sierra Leone. So let's take a look.
They did not file their statement of case. Therefore, the Honorable Chief Justice requested of someone in meeting in regard to that particular case or an action filed by Paul Kamara and one Reverend Almami Wilson Toure against the ECSL, that is the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone, the All People's Congress political party, and their presidential candidate, Dr. Samuel Kamara. Rule 91 of the Supreme Court Rules, Public Notice number 1 of 1982, is very instructive. They did not file their statement of case. Therefore, the Honorable Chief Justice requested of someone in meeting in regard to that particular case.
In our story, the Institute for Governance Reform, IGR, has launched the Sierra Pool Survey. The survey, according to the Executive Director for the Institute of Governance Reform, IGR, Andrew Lavalley, focuses on composition of the next president, parliamentary, and percentage, and for local council as well.
In terms of parliamentary composition, we expect to see around 53 to 59% of the next parliament being SLPP and around 39 to 38 to 46% of the next parliament being APC. We expect to see NGC with about 0.7 to 1.5%. So it's definitely a two-horse race parliament with the two dominant parties controlling the parliament.
The IGR is...
At the moment, there is one woman elected MP for paramount chief. Out of the 14 paramount chiefs, we have one woman. One is dropped, two are dropped. So if you combine that with 38 women that will we're going to have about 37 to 38 women that are going to be elected. If you combine that, what we project to have, the number of women we project to see around 26% of women in parliament, around 26%. Will fall short by about 4% of women.
Right, and finally, His Excellency the President, retired Brigadier Julius Madabio, and has taken the SLPP 2020 campaign to the east end of the country in Freetown. President Bio called on the eastern people to vote him as head of state for the second term in office. And after that, he said he will bring development in Sierra Leone.
The other time, when make me, when I flag bearer, I go with the dance, we don't dance, we almost done. Then they attack me again. They bust me, don't so. When we come, I'm not follow them. I say I get work for them. I for left them on the condition. And yampi now, and yampi. Now development we go so straight now, so where are they promised you now? And I want we make sure that this election is violence free. If you have any information about anybody, if they put things them together or they come together for disrupt the election, for make we know. Just like we are not violent, we don't allow anybody in violence for can disrupt we. We go clamp down on anybody. We go make sure say election day now just like any other day. In fact, it will look like a Sunday. We grab, you go and vote, giving them or the next morning, they'll call the result so that people will vote. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, the fate of this country, I never know in a hand.
All right, that's all we have in our top stories this morning. Back to you, Mattia and Elizabeth, in our main studio.
All right, many thanks to you, David Yemi Wilson, for bringing us the top stories in our news summary this morning. Well, in the show, we shall be speaking to Hawa Samai, the Executive Secretary for the Independent Commission for Peace and National Cohesion, on the role of the Commission in promoting peace and national cohesion ahead of the June 24th multi-tier elections.
We shall also be speaking to Ulisa Amadou on his appointment as Youth Envoy by President Julius Madabio and how young people should refrain from violence ahead of the June 24th multi-tier elections. And we'll also be talking to Victor Idrissa Lantana, who's the Vice Chairman for Human Rights Commission Sierra Leone, on the role of Human Rights Commission during and after the June 24th elections.
And our quote for today says that peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding, and it comes from Albert Einstein, a German-born theoretical physicist. Let's now get a quick word from our sponsor, local commercial bank, and then when we come back, we go into the first segment of the show.
Every day, the world wakes up to you. Millions of people are getting ready for you for shopping, travel expenses, utility bills, trade, and commerce. If we all have wishes, then what is your financial transaction wish?
I'd like to have a choice.
I'd like convenience.
I'd like to pay for goods and services on the go.
I'd like to pay utility bills on the go. Out of credit and data, buy some mobile top-up, still on my phone. Oops, light out. I'll buy some extra, still on my phone.
I'd like to make payment from my account to another account through my mobile phone.
As a CEO of a company, I would like my staff to receive their salaries through bulk e-payment without the risk of transporting cash.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo does it all.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo. Think of it as
money when you're close to home and when you're away from home for unexpected expenses, and money for those times when cash fails.
If you can dream it, you can become it. If you can imagine it, you can achieve it.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo is all you need.
Look me candidate, see me candidate. Look me candidate, see me candidate. Maravio, maravio. We go vote for you, yeah, so they go. Maravio, come change Salone for we are, so they go. Maravio, we go vote for you, yeah, so they go. Maravio, We go vote for you, yeah, so say go. Manabio. We go vote for you, yeah, so say go.
Manabio. We go vote for you, yeah, so say go.
AYV International, a truly global media outlet. Our media platforms can be found across the world, including Africa, America, Asia, Europe, Caribbean, the Pacific, and more. Our media services include broadcasting, media production of documentaries, movies, and a wide range of audiovisual services, advertising and public relations, sporting and events coverage, photography, and a reliable media equipment rental unit, as well as media training. Contact us at our International AYV Media Centre, 18 Soho Square, London, United Kingdom, W1D 3QH. Telephone us on 074 967 456 33. Or you can send us an email to ayv.international@ayvnews.com or ayv.international@gmail.com. You can also find us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Welcome back. This is Wake Up Sierra Leone here on channel 33. We're also live on DSTV channel 399. We're live on radio 101.7 FM, and also we're live on our Facebook page, AYV News. Don't forget to drop your comments and questions.
Well, in our first segment in the show this morning, we are going to discuss the role of the Human Rights Commission, Sierra Leone, during and after the June 24th multi-day elections. In the studio, we have been joined by Victor Idris Alantana. He is the Vice Chairman, Human Rights Commission, Sierra Leone. Good morning, Victor, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. It's a pleasure.
I'm going through the mission statement of the Human Rights Commission, Sierra Leone. It says here that the commission exists to take the lead role in building a culture of human rights, including respect for individuals, responsibilities, which maintain human dignity for all in Sierra Leone in full compliance with the Constitution, laws, international and regional instruments through effective partnership and collaboration. How assertive is this statement at this time in our country when we look at the June 24th multi-day elections?
Very, very much assertive and very compelling, I would say, in fact, because, you know, the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone was, you know, a body established after the war. We all know that before the war and during the war, there was no national institution that was there to protect and promote the rights of everybody in this country. And so, in fact, as a matter of fact, it was way back in 1990 that when they were reviewing the 1978 Constitution, that it was recommended that a national institution to be called the National Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone be established. But by then, the government then did not actually heed to that advice or to that recommendation. And fast forward, we all know that you know, there were several efforts that were made to ensure that we end the war. So one of such efforts was the Lome Peace Accord, Lome Peace Agreement. So in Lome, it was agreed that a national institution be established to promote and protect human rights of everybody in this country. And then when the war ended, you know, government set up the peace and the TRC, Total Reconciliation Commission, and the commission did its work. And then we all know that they've published a report, and in that report, it was boldly recommended that a national human rights commission be established. So it has been, you know, a sustainable recommendation because of the importance that stakeholders, national and international, stakeholders actually place on a national human rights institution. And the National Human Rights Institution of Sierra Leone is part of a global network. So we have other NHRIs, call them NHRI, National Human Rights Institutions. So it's scattered across the world in the globe. So we have a document, for instance, that we work on, that we work with. It is called the Paris Principles. It's a United Nations document. And apart from that Paris Principles, we also have our own founding law, which is the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone Act of 2004. So when the recommendation was made by TRC, government now thought it fit that yes, it was time for them to set up an institution to ensure that the protection and promotion of human rights, was really enhanced. So that brought in the act, and then the commission went to full operations in 2006. And since then, the commission has been playing that role to ensure that the rights and the rights of people are protected, but also, particularly so right now, we are ensuring that we talk about the rights, but also about responsibilities of citizens, because we have seen how there has been a serious vacuum in terms of citizens knowing their responsibilities. In as much as, yes, you know your rights and you should be able to advocate for your rights, but then also you should know that you have a constitutional obligation, because as a matter of fact, Section 13 of the Constitution provides for duties of a citizen. And this is really something that citizens have not been able to think about. Or many people are really not aware of it. People know that they have the rights to freedom of expression, movement, everything about rights. But they don't know that the Constitution also places obligation on them, for instance, to be loyal to the state, as against, particularly now that we are in electioneering process, the Constitution says every citizen must be loyal to the state, and that the loyalty of the state should supersede your tribal loyalty, your regional loyalty, your religious loyalty. It is there clearly in Section 13 of the Constitution, and that we must, at all times in our various communities, render assistance to law enforcement officers in order to maintain or to keep the peace, maintain law and order. It is there in the Constitution, but many citizens don't know that at all, even those who are literate. So the Commission has been working very hard to ensure that we fight for the rights of citizens of this country, but at the same time, we get them to understand that rights go with responsibilities. You have a reputation to protect. My sister here has a reputation to protect. If somebody begins to write now about you, about your reputation, it actually risks your integrity. And so, in as much as you have the right to freedom of expression, for instance, but also it means that you have to respect the rights of other people, the rights and reputations of other people. You have to look at, the security of the state. All of that, put together, if citizens are able to are aware of that, they will believe that we have a situation where the culture of human rights is embedded. People will actually grow up to be responsible in society, and government, which has 4 primary international obligations, once those obligations are rendered, they will believe that the society will be a peaceful one and a developed one. Because international obligation, for government, it tells you that government must respect, protect in the first place, protect the rights of people. It must promote human rights. It must fulfill human rights, and it must respect human rights. So these are the 4 obligations that government has to ensure that citizens' rights are catered for. So that is what the Commission is there to do, and that's core mandate that you have spoken to. It is really compelling, and if every citizen, we are to actually implement that one, we are to embrace it, then I'm sure that we'll be able to live in a society that is peaceful and that is really developed.
Before even we come to speak about what will be the works of the Commission during and after elections, let's take it a step back. Is it safe to say that as a country, what we propagate or our concern has mostly been on the civil and political rights aspect of human rights? When you look at the economic, social, and cultural rights as well, also, which is reflected in the Constitution, and you just mentioned Section 13, which deals with the duties of citizens, even though government has so many things to do as a social contract, you as a citizen also have that duty. But when you look at those sections not being justiciable in the fact that you can't really take government to court if government does not provide you the basic necessity or amenity. But when it comes to civil and political rights, from your right to life from Section 16 going downwards, those rights can be adjudicated for. Isn't this a disparity in our Constitution that we care so much for civil and political rights, personal rights, your right to property, your right to life, freedom of speech, and the very essence of our economic and cultural rights. The things that should be the foundation for you to attain those rights are not justiciable, and you can't take government to court for them.
You could not have better expressed it at all. I mean, this is very succinct. That is why we have been calling on a shift of advocacy from civil and political rights to economic and social rights. So, we have what we call under international law, the International Bill of Rights. This Bill of Rights constitutes 3 international documents. First, we have the umbrella document that we call the Universal Declaration of Rights, that is UDHR. And that basically gives you, it lays the foundation for the rights of people, that people, everybody is born free and equal, and people should be respected, the dignity of people should be respected. So that is the umbrella right document that establishes human rights of all. But then we have the other 2 instruments under the Bill of Rights. We have the civil and political rights. So it is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So this document talks about all of these rights we're talking about: expression, freedom of expression, movements, privacy, everything, property. That is what this rights and this document talks about. The third one under the Bill of Rights is about the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. And this one, it's about the rights to education, the rights to employment, the rights to health, the rights to, the things that really empower you as an individual. So that is why normally we call them empowerment rights. But that is the area that people advocacy has really been lacking over the years. And like you say, rightly put it, you cannot attain the civil and political rights. Yes, we agree that civil and political rights are what we call the first generation of rights. Okay, they're the first generation of rights, because basically, they talk about rights that you are born with. It's inherent in you as an individual, as a human being. Mm-hmm. But then also, when you look at the second generation of rights, which are the economic rights, they are enablers for you to be able to enjoy these rights. So if there is no health, you cannot actually talk about, you cannot be able to advocate for your right to movement or freedom of expression, as the case may be. If you're not enlightened, you don't have some form of education in you, it's difficult for you to even understand how do you go about, fighting for those civil and political rights. So it is something that we have been calling government attention to understand that the economic, social, and cultural rights are the basis, are the foundation for us to be able to enjoy those other rights. Because if government is able to provide jobs for people, the rights to work, for instance, if that one is enhanced, it means, people, youth, for instance, will not be readily available to be used by politicians. If we have health being enhanced, across the country, where people are able to access quality health facilities, then it means that Sierra Leoneans will be able to live longer. All the ailments that we report about, the fact that we don't even have money to fly, people out of the country. If government is able to attain that, then there's so much more, we'll have gained. Several other issues that we find under the right to the ECOSOC right, the economic, social, and cultural rights. So that is a very serious thing, and we have been calling on even our partners, civil society organizations, for them to understand that they must have a bit of a shift in terms of advocacy for us to draw the attention of government to ensure that these rights, economic, social, and cultural rights, are enhanced in our country. And that is, we are lacking as a country for the longest time.
Okay, so as we approach elections, besides participation being a human right in itself, there are other human rights that are central to the electoral processes. For example, the right to equality, non-discrimination, peaceful assemblies. Are we in an environment wherein the rights of individuals are actually respected?
It's a very good question you've asked. Are we in an environment where the rights of people are respected? It's not a clear-cut answer that you would expect, because first of all, do we have institutions that are really empowered, that are created or established to ensure that the rights of people are respected? Do we have individuals who are independent enough to be able to work, to ensuring that the rights of individuals are respected? And then also, do have that sense that citizens who are also responsive to their own responsibilities to ensure that they don't infringe upon the rights of other people. They don't get to disrespect other people. They get to understand that they have an obligation to ensure that they're able to even enjoy their own rights. They have to also, respect the rights of others. So it has been a very serious, difficult thing generally in our country. But then also, we are satisfied that we have the legal framework is in place. We have institutional framework also in place that are set up to ensure that the rights of people generally are protected. And so it is incumbent upon every citizen to be able to, respectfully call out government for your interest when you have issues. It is incumbent upon every citizen to ensure that the whole government is accountable. If you think that government has gone the wrong way, then it's your own responsibility to ensure that either you use the local structures that are in place, or you by yourself, you're able to call out government. So that is where maybe we'll be able to answer that question. Are citizens given the opportunity? Do they have the platform to call on government, to call out government? Today, we see that the space has really been increased. Citizens have the opportunity now. You can have your 100,000 units phone, you put your 100 units megabyte and so on. You are able to challenge government on issues. And then also, the media has been able to be really progressive. They have been able to get citizens to come and discuss. Civil society organizations, ordinary citizens, entrepreneurs. They're able to get them to come and discuss. I've been following AYV. For the longest time, they call entrepreneurs, they call civil society organizations, NGOs. It's a platform that you give citizens to be able to express their views on issues, on national issues, and on their own personal lives. So that is where we are really enjoying. 20 years ago, we didn't have such opportunity. But today, we are having that opportunity for every citizen and Sierra Leonean, every citizen to be able to express themselves freely. But then we have a long way to go as a country. Like my brother just said, it's about really the economic rights, because those rights are the ones that enable you to enjoy those civil and political rights. We have to ensure, as the people, as the country, we go into making sure that the economic rights are really, enhanced in our country. That is where we are lacking, and we have to be very much conscious. And governments in 2021 went to Geneva. One of the recommendations under the UPR, I think I was here the other day to talk about UPR, Universal Periodic Review. It's a UN system where UN member states, 193 states, every 5 years they are being reviewed. Their human rights records are being reviewed. Other states we recommend. So when it was the turn of Sierra Leone to be assessed, several states recommended that the government of Sierra Leone must take steps to ensuring that they address poverty. So once government goes there and then says yes, government accepted that yes, we are going to ensure that to take steps to address poverty in our country, then government is now obligated, because it's a voluntary process. Government is now obligated to ensure that they take practical steps in addressing poverty. Because most of the crimes you hear about, or most of the violence you hear about, in many cases, it's so much about the fact that our youth are not employed. People are idle, they don't have anything to do, and they may also not be even employable. Because sometimes if you want to get a job, you have to be employable. And that means you have to be able to provide some skills. If you don't have skills, how will you be employed? So government must take steps to ensure that the capacities of our youth, of our young people, are really enhanced, so that at the end of the day, they are able to have somewhere that they will attach themselves, and they'll be able to get that kind of dignity. Because when you work, you bring dignity to yourself. You're able to take care of yourself, your family, and so on and so forth. But when you don't have anything to do, you rely on handouts, you lose your dignity as a human being. And that is where the problem comes in. You can be co-opted anytime, anywhere, to constitute a political tool for you to go out there and cause mayhem against political opponents. So we are calling on governments, we have been doing this for the longest time, to ensure that they pay much more attention on addressing poverty. Addressing poverty should be the central discussion in these elections. And these are the issues that we believe that if political parties are able to convince their supporters, or able to convince the voters generally, then they will be able to come to power, and then be able to address those issues. If there is no agenda on poverty, then to me there is no agenda for any political party. There must be a deliberate agenda that addresses poverty. Poverty is responsible for the lack of enjoyment of all of those other rights that we may think about. Where poverty is addressed, my sister, the issue of human rights will generally or naturally be addressed.
With the digitization of electoral processes or the use of information and technology, like you mentioned, now new human rights challenges have risen. How do we address these issues?
We are fortunate today that with your Android phone, you can actually access information across the country. We have websites. Google is there. We have personal and private websites of institutions, and we now have a whole secretariat that is responsible to make information available. Access to information secretariat is there, and now we have also got the National Council for Civic Education and Democracy. That one also is another platform for students to be able to gain access to information. And I see ECSL, is really coming out on a daily basis. Having the opportunity to talk to people, to update the public about what they are doing. So information is not hidden anymore. Even if you want to hide information, there are people who have a way, to get information from you. So it is an opportunity because the right to information is really, really key in every electoral process. People have to know what is happening. And that is why, we have been talking to politicians to ensure that you go to the nook and cranny of this country to get people to understand what agenda you have. Because it should be about issues and not about violence. And that is why we have been engaging youth to ensure that they stay away from violence. When these politicians come, bad politicians come to them to give them drugs and 50,000 euros, as the case may be, let them ignore those, let them turn down those gestures and ensure that they stay in for peace. Because at the end of the day, it's about your own liberty. Because if you engage yourself in violence and you have some running battles with the police, you might either lose your life or you are incarcerated, arrested and incarcerated. So you have to be very really self-conscious, because self-preservation is the key thing about life. You cannot go out there to fight for politicians. In many cases, I wonder how many times we have seen politicians being arrested and incarcerated. If they are arrested, maybe 1 or 2 days, they are done with them. They come out again. But for you, as the ordinary Sierra Leonean or as the ordinary youth man or ghetto man, you understand, and once you are involved in violence and the police get to arrest you, my brother, it's difficult for you to come out. You must go down. So that is why we are telling them, we get down to them to understand that ask the politicians when they come to you, what do you intend to do for us as ghetto boys? What do you intend to do for us as car wash boys? What do you get to do for us as Okada riders? These are the questions that you ask them. Let them tell you, not just say, I'll come and do A, B, and C, but let them explain to you how. Because that how aspect is what, in fact, you journalists, have to really, really be bold about. Let them tell us how do they intend. Because it's very simple to say, I'll come and do A, B, and C, be skyscraper. That is very simple. Anybody can say that, by the way. You don't even need to go to university to say that when I come, I will build skyscraper. But the real question is, how do you intend to do it? Explain to us. Because, Sierra Leoneans are now really enlightened. If you tell them, if you attempt to answer the question how, they will be able to put 1 or 2 together and say, this is possible or this is not possible. So we have to really zoom on that and get politicians to tell us how they intend to come and change the lives of Sierra Leoneans and the country generally.
As you roll out your mandate at the Human Rights Commission, what role are you really going to perform during this elections period, and what have been your engagement?
Exactly. Thank you very much. So the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone, about a month ago, we launched what we call our elections preparedness strategy. That strategy has 5 pillars. We have the first pillar that talks about training or capacity building. Under that pillar already, we have been able to train our elections monitors. Quite recently, or 2 days ago, we have trained them, about 170 across the country. We trained our staff, as well as district human rights committee members who are scattered across the country. They all came to Freetown, and we were able to get them trained, so that at the end of the day, when they go out to the field, they're able to look out for human rights issues specifically, because that is what we monitor. We monitor human rights issues. So that is what we have done under the capacity building. And we have pillar 2 that talks about awareness raising, like what I'm doing now. We come to the public, we get stakeholders engagement, we get community engagement to get people to understand their rights to vote and their responsibilities that they should also exhibit in terms of getting their right and enjoying their rights. So that is the second aspect, that is the second pillar of this strategy that we launched. And then we have the third pillar that talks about complaint handling. So complaint handling is a very key issue under this strategy. Under the complaint handling, we are going to establish what we call a situation room. that situation won't be able to address, key issues as they come. It's going to be a real-time response to issues about human rights. So once we have the situation room, we are able to, once we get the information from the field, from our monitors that we have trained, we'll now engage. If it's an issue about, say, ECSL, we'll get the ECSL boss to know and to address the issue. If it's about the police, we'll get the issue around security, we'll get ONS, the police, and other security agencies to get to address those issues. So if it's about legal representation, we'll get to the legal aid board for them to address that. So that is what we have under the complaint handling mechanism for these elections. And then we have the fourth aspect, which is actually about monitoring. So monitoring is divided into 3 phases. We have the pre-elections, election day, which is during elections, and post-elections. So already we have started that. Long ago we started that pillar. We have monitored the voter registration period, the exhibition period. We have monitored the nomination period. Now we are monitoring the campaigns. So that is what we have been doing. And during elections, of course, we continue to also monitor the issues. The elections generally, and we are able to address the human rights concerns as they come up. And then the last pillar under that one, under the strategy, is the report writing. So we have to produce a special elections report, so that at the end of the day, we get ECSL, or generally the EMBs, election management bodies, to understand the challenges that we are identified by the commission, but also to ensure that we have a better election, when we get into 2028. That is what we do. But we don't have to wait until we get to that stage, until we get to the period of reporting. Once the issues happen, we ensure that we are able to take prompt actions to address them. As I've explained already, we get to engage the relevant stakeholders for them to be able to address those challenges that we see in the field.
Now, let's look at international indicators and some of the data and statistics they've been given on Sierra Leone. If you look at the Freedom House, Freedom in the World 2023, Sierra Leone is placed 63 out of 100. And on political rights, we are 27 out of 40. On civil liberties, we are 36 out of 60. And also on the World Peace Index, we are one of the most unhappy states. How are these international indicators or these institutions, how important or relevant are they for us to understanding what's the human rights status in country?
Well, the more the merrier. It gives government the opportunity to know what is happening and to be able to take steps to addressing issues, around human rights, or generally what's the indicators actually state. So it's really an opportunity. I would always advise government to understand that they have to take these reports, with some form of compulsion. They don't have to be dismissive at all. When reports of this nature come, what you do, you ensure that you study the reports and then try to see how you're able to address those challenges. So, but my brother, we are still having challenges in our country in terms of the reason why are we not happy. If you have a poor nation, do you think people will be happy? No, people don't be happy. So let's not play it safe as if everything is bright and beautiful. No, it is because there is poverty. There is rampant poverty in our country. For the longest time, since 1961, we have been grappling with poverty, and that is why people are not happy. So we must be able to take steps. I come again to the issue of government ensuring that poverty is addressed. When poverty is addressed, you and I will be happy, definitely. Because if you wake up in the morning, you have somewhere to go, that when you go there to work, you have a handsome salary at the end of the day, you'll be happy. Generally, you'll be happy. I know, of course, those are the issues, around workplace hazards. It happens every day. But if you don't have anywhere to go, it becomes much more worrisome. So that is really what is really causing the unhappiness in our country. And about Sierra Leone being a fragile state, 19 years ago, we're counting 20 years now, we said we are saying bye-bye to the guns. Okay, at least today we are enjoying peace. We have been able as a country to conduct 4 democratic elections, and during those 4 democratic elections, we have been able to peacefully transfer power from one political party to the other. Give yourself some kudos as a country. we see what is happening in other countries. To change power from one political party to the other, it means a lot. It causes chaos, loss of lives, destruction, and so on and so forth. But we have been able to do that, with less antagonism. So we have to tap ourselves in the back and say, yes, we can do more. And we have to do more to ensure that we have a country that is really happy, a country that is, that is able to address poverty, and will take the country to a kind of middle level and in country. That is where we want to be. I mean, now we have Agenda 2063 for Africa, and that should be an aspiration for every government to ensure that Sierra Leone is a happy nation. I mean, as we get to 2063. But in the medium-term development project is to ensure that Sierra Leoneans have jobs. We are happy. We're happy that the issue of enlightenment is now coming in place, because government is providing the free quality education. It gives opportunity to Sierra Leoneans to go to school, because you and I, we know our beginnings. Okay, we came from humble beginnings, but it is because of education we're able to sit here and talk about national issues. I mean, millions of Sierra Leoneans don't have this opportunity. We are just very, very few. The reason being, I mean, the opportunity to go to school has not been given to everybody. So that is why now we are celebrating the issue of, this free quality education, so that it gives opportunity to every Sierra Leonean to at least to gain some form of basic education. And that is what the Constitution says. The Constitution says every Sierra Leonean should be able to attain minimum education. That is the basic education. And government has the responsibility to ensure that those aspirations of the state are being looked after. And when you talked about that few minutes ago, you talked about non-justiciability of those economic rights. Yes, that one is very clear. It's in Section 14 of the Constitution. And it's an issue that we have brought up. There has been a review of the Constitution. We said these rights must be justiciable, these economic rights. Because if we are saying civil and political rights are justiciable, why not these empowerment rights? Because I've maintained for the longest time that these economic rights are the enablers of the civil and political rights. But if the Constitution is telling us that you cannot take government on account, or to court when these rights are not provided, then it becomes a lazy argument to say, oh, well, government doesn't have all the resources. Oh, that would be floodgates. But that is the argument anyways. I mean, that has been an argument for the longest time. That if you now say government is not able to provide water because one part of the ECOSOC rights, economic rights, or say education, government cannot provide education, or health, as the case may be, then there will be a floodgate of litigations before the courts, and every day government will be taken to court. So that is the argument anyways.
So the reason why I asked that question earlier is because we've not been able to legislate or to take government to court in our jurisdiction, but we've done so successfully with the regional court, the ECOWAS court. We've taken government to court for political issues, for education on girls, on pregnant girls, and also on health, on the Ebola nurses. So these indicators should tell our government, our judiciary system, it's high time we bring these matters to our courts to be determined, than always citizens or organizations taking the government to court for health, for education.
Well, you see, under under international law, a citizen can actually bring governments to court, at least to the international court, for instance, the ECOWAS court, the sub-regional court, when government fails to provide these rights enshrined under Part 2 of the Constitution, the economic and social rights. Because government goes to the international stage, they sign up to international treaties, okay? And they say, if a treaty provides that government or state parties must ensure that they provide water or electricity, I mean, those kind of amenities, government signs up to them, assuming that is the case. And then government comes back to say, oh, well, because our constitution says that you cannot take us to court for the non-availability of these amenities, then you can argue under international law that government or the state has already signed up to this convention or this treaty, and therefore you can bring this action before a regional court, for instance, the ECOWAS court. So the only problem I have, we don't have it in our DNA as a country to be taking government to court. So even with the civil and political rights that are justiciable, in other words, citizens can take government to court on on the infringement of those rights that are enshrined in that under Chapter 3 of the Constitution. I mean, we don't bring government to court.
We are
not
only
testing the
focused
courts.
on the political aspect of those
exactly,
rights.
exactly. It's not only about politics. We have not been testing the courts. And the other day, I was having a discussion with the CJ, Chief Justice. He said, well, I mean, civil society organizations, people are not bringing matters to court. The Supreme Court is there, not doing anything. They want to be tested. But they don't do it. I mean, we come, we sit here, we argue, we are on WhatsApp or Facebook, saying all of things. But the Supreme Court is there to receive. But the Supreme Court, by the way, or the court generally, cannot initiate a proceeding anyways. So it is, I mean, there should be parties, whether it's an individual organizations that should approach the court. But if you're not approaching the courts, how would you have, I mean, jurisprudence of the country enhanced and then setting precedents? That is the problem. In our DNA, I mean, as a country, as the people, we are not used to challenging government in courts. We don't take government to court. We say, left with case give God. But that is very bad.
So I'd like to ask, how do you ensure accountability? How do you hold state and non-state actors accountable for their actions and inactions?
Yeah, so I've talked about the fact that we have the complaint and the mechanism. Citizens can bring a complaint to us when their rights are being violated. When their rights have been violated, they can bring an action to us. But upon ourselves also, we can take upon ourselves by Section 7 of our Act. If we see that there is like a violation of human rights, we can come in and then act upon ourselves, I mean, without any being prompted by citizens. You remember we in 2020, last year, I think it was last year, we decided to look at the police on the issue of accountability. And we have what we call public inquiry into the conduct of law enforcement officers. So that public inquiry was targeting law enforcement officers generally, including the Sierra Leone police, the military, the city council police, the metropolitan police, and the road safety corps. So all those 4 categories of law enforcement officers were brought before us. So this public inquiry is looking at the conduct of these these law enforcement officers in terms of whether they use violence or they cause grievous bodily harm on people when they do their job, whether, as a matter of fact, they deprive citizens of their property, and whether, as a result of their actions, they cause death. You know, I mean, they take away the lives of people. So we have been doing that. You know, as a matter of fact, on August 10 last year, we were in McKinney when we had, I mean, the military. We are drilling them. We are before us as the panel. You know, the commission has the power to constitute itself into a high court. Okay, so we look at those issues. It's a way of, I mean, bringing accountability, you know, to the people. So we are doing that when this August 10th incident occurred, and then we had to run for our lives because it was really chaotic. You know, we started feeling the tear gas. I mean, those rioters, they washed into our building in McKinney where we were. You know, we had to watch for our lives. I was in Boo doing the same thing. My boss, the chairperson, and the other team, they were in McKinney. You know, they had to run for their lives. But for us in Boo, we are okay until we saw the press release from the vice president to say that was a coffee. That was the only time we had to stop that incident, that investigation. So it's public inquiry is one of the ways in which we bring accountability, you know, in the system for citizens to feel confident that if their rights is violated, particularly so when it becomes systemic, we can use public inquiry to bring public servants, public officers before us we have the powers of the High Court to ensure that we summon witnesses, we summon parties to come before us. So there are several ways, you know, we put out reports on a daily basis when we do our monitoring, and at the end of the day, those reports, if we have any adverse findings, you know, about those reports in a particular report, we're able to engage the appropriate authorities. If you do not take steps, you know, to addressing the issues that we may have highlighted, you know, then we can now use our powers of contempt, because the law says that if they refuse to do what we have said, you know, then we can take upon them, you know, can bring them to the High Court on contempt. All right. So that is what we normally do, you know, as the commission.
Okay, so stay with us. It's just 2 minutes past 9. Let's go for a news summary, and we'll be back to continue the conversation.
Every day, the world wakes up to you. Millions of people are getting ready for you. For shopping, travel expenses, utility bills, trade, and commerce. If we all have wishes, then what is your financial transaction wish?
I'd like to have a choice.
I'd like convenience.
I'd like to pay for goods and services on the go.
I'd like to pay utility bills on the go, out of credit and data, buy some mobile top-up, still on my phone. Oops, light out. I'll buy some ETSA, still on my phone.
I'd like to make payment from my account to another account through my mobile phone.
As a chef for company, I would like my staff to receive their salaries through bulk e-payment without the risk of transporting cash.
Raquel Commercial Bank Simcopo does it all.
Raquel Commercial Bank Simcopo. Think of it as
Money when you're close to home and when you're away from home for unexpected expenses, and money for those times when cash fails.
If you can dream it, you can become it. If you can imagine it, you can achieve it.
Raquel Commercial Bank Simcopo is all you need.
AYV Media Empire they bring to Uno One Elections Confidence 2023 broadcast. We aim for make people learn, raise awareness, and get assurance for say the June 24 elections go free, fair, and non-boss no go take place.
Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone na in the Constitution under Section 32 of the Constitution of Sierra Leone get the mandate for conduct elections, for also do boundary delimitation and conduct referenda and any other activities where it relate to elections in Sierra Leone. Every election cycle, the ECSL and or the country, they learn lessons from the processes. And that process is in the where would they develop the next electoral cycle? Would they use that for improve on the system? Now that make for this electoral cycle when at 2020 to 2024, we ensure say some of the issues then we come out during the last election in 2018, we bring that on board for in order for make we improve on the delivery and the quality of the service what they do. People that don't take about 87% of the voters' ID card. Despite the concerns about the photos on the ID card, but all other quality checks that will be put, it meets the requirements in terms of the security. I want for assure the public, Sierra Leoneans, and even international partners that the Electoral Commission where it don't conduct 4 or 5 elections. The same staff that we dey, many of them still there. We will maintain the same credibility we don't do over the years. And we will ensure say we'll bring everybody, we'll continue for bring everybody on board so that the process will be transparent and the results we will come out with will be accepted by everyone. The commission is not biased towards any particular political parties, but rather will serve the people of this country. So let them get the confidence that the same institution where we don't conduct election in 2007, 2012, 2018 at the same institution with the staff then within day, and we promise they will continue the good work. Thank you, Sierra Leoneans.
All right, thank you so much. Now to the first story in the news summary. President Julius Maada Bio has taken the SLPP 2023 campaign to the people of East and part of Freetown. President Bio called on the Eastern people to vote him as head of state for his second term in office because of the development strides he has made for the past 5 years, recognized by both locally and international. He encouraged the people to choose progress over transgression. Let's take the highlights.
When I flag bearer, I go with the dance we dance, we don't dance, we almost done. Then they attack me again. They bust me, they don't so. When we come, I'm not follow them. I say I got work for them. Now for left hand of the condition. And yampi now and yampi. Now development will go so straight now, so where are they promise you now? And I want for we make sure that this election is violent free. If you have any information about anybody, if they put things then together or they come together for disrupt the election, for make people know. Just like we are not violent, we don't allow anybody in violence for can disrupt me. We go clamp down on anybody. We go make sure say election day now just like any other day. In fact, it will look like a Sunday. We grab, you go, you vote, giving them or the next morning, they'll call the result so that people will vote. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, the fate of this country, I never know in a hand.
Now to another story in a news summary. The Supreme Court of Sierra Leone has struck out the action filed by Paul Kamara and Reverend Alimami Colsintoi on the 17th May of this year against the Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone, the APC presidential candidate, Dr. Samuel Kamara, and the APC party for non-compliance with the Supreme Court Rule 90, subsection 1, and the Public Act number 1 of 1982.
They did not file their statement of case. Therefore, the Honorable Chief Justice requested of someone in meeting in regard to that particular case or an action filed by Paul Kamara and one Reverend Almami Osuntuni against the ECSL, that is the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone, the All People's Congress political party, and their presidential candidate, Dr. Samuel Kamara. Rule 91 of the Supreme Court Rules, Public Notice number 1 of 1982, is very instructive. They did not file their statement of case. Therefore, the Honorable Chief Justice requested of someone in meeting in regard to that particular case.
And finally, in the news summary, the Institute for Governance Reform, IGR, has launched their Sarah Poll survey. The survey, according to the executive director of IGR and Lovely, focuses on the composition of the next parliament, percentage of share of women in the next parliament, and distribution of the 22 local councils. Here is the story by Mohamed Lamin Banya.
In terms of parliamentary composition, we expect to see around 53 to 59% for the next parliament being SLPP and around 39 to 38 to 46% of the next parliament being APC. We expect to see NGC with about 0.7 to 1.5%. So it's definitely a two-horse race parliament with the two dominant parties controlling the parliament.
The idea is...
At the moment, there is one woman elected MP for paramount chief. Out of the 14 paramount chiefs, we have one woman. One is dropped, two are dropped. So if you combine that with 38 women, that we're going to have about 37 to 38 women that are going to be elected. If you combine that, what we project to have, the number of women we project to see around 26% of women in parliament. Around 26%. We'll fall short by about 4% of women.
That's all for a news summary, and back to you, Elizabeth Momo and Bokai Matia in our main studio.
All right, many thanks to you and Sir McLean for bringing us the news summary. In the studio, we still have Victor with us from the Human Rights Commission. As we close, Victor, take us through what are the key indicators that the Human Rights Commission will be looking for going into the polls and after the polls?
Yes, so we are really limiting our intervention to basically human rights issues, human rights concerns. And so for now that we are monitoring the campaigns, we want to see whether the right to freedom of expression is enhanced, whether the right to freedom of assembly is enhanced. We also want to see whether the participation of the people is also enhanced. So these are just basically the human rights issues, freedom of assembly or movement, as the case may be. And then on the day of the poll itself, on the day of the polls, we will be monitoring human rights concerns around the privacy or secrecy of the voting. That should be enhanced. I mean, at the polls, people should be given the opportunity to vote secretly. And we also want to see whether there are special preferences given to old people, lactating mothers, persons with disability. So that will have to do with accessibility, whether the centers are accessible. Already we have been engaged in ECSL to ensure that they consider persons living with disability to have easy access, to the polls. And then also there is the issue of tactile ballot papers, because like I said, it's about secrecy of the ballots. You don't want to have a person who is, visually impaired, to be led by somebody else who would have to vote for him or her, and not voting for the person that, the person with disability will have actually requested for. So we want to see that ECSL account for all of these issues, so that even before the polls, everything will be in place. So there are several other issues, and also we want to see that there is no riotous conduct or disorderly behavior. So I'm going to also monitor that aspect of the arrangement of the process itself, so that we have an election that is free and fair. We want to see whether the elections have observers, whether it's we have local observers or international observers, because observers bring credibility to the situation, to the process itself, so that at the end of the day, we see, everything will be very transparent, and then we have a credible elections that, if not all, but majority of Sierra Leoneans will accept and move forward. It's about Sierra Leone winning. A political party may take the lead, yes, but it's about Sierra Leone winning. So it's about the soul and the security of Sierra Leone. That is why the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone is quite concerned, and we are taking the center stage, because elections about it's a human rights issue. So we want to ensure that the right to vote and be voted for is really, really enhanced, and all other antecedent rights are also enhanced during this process. So I use the opportunity to talk to the people of this country, particularly the young people who constitute the bulk of the voting population, to ensure that you are peaceful, remain peaceful, do not allow any bad politician to influence you to go into, doing bad things. Because these politicians, they have their keys, at home, they are resting there, or abroad, they are abroad. They go to you to use you, so that at the end of the day, they misuse and then they dump you. It's high time we started thinking as vibrant and progressive young people who can take our own future in our hands and don't allow politicians to use us. It doesn't matter where you are today. You may be in the ghetto, you may be a car wash center man or an Okada rider, but you have a very bright future, ahead of you. You have a very bright future. You can become anybody you want to become. So don't allow anybody to use up that bright future that you have. Ensure that you are independent. You embrace peace, and ensure that you add to the entirety of the process by voting. Nobody should stop you from voting. Mm-hmm. It's your right to vote, but it's also your responsibility to ensure that you remain peaceful and don't indulge in any form of violence at all throughout the process.
Lastly, the Human Rights Commission has received its reaccreditation as a grade A national human rights institution by the United Nations through its autonomous global body known as Global Alliance for National Human Rights Institutions. How does this feel with your strides as the Human Rights Commission? And lastly, what's your reassurance to the people for this election?
Yes, thank you so much. So we have been reaccredited as a grade A. Grade A. You know, when a student goes to school, everybody wants to score grade A. You understand? 100%, 90%, 88%, 95%. So that is the category we are. We have several, I mean, like I told you, national human rights institutions are scattered across the world. So we have, whether in Africa here, there is Nigeria, there is Liberia, there is Ghana. I mean, every other country, Zambia, Zimbabwe. When you go to Europe, you have UK, you have Ireland, you have all of those other countries. America is the same. I mean, the Americas. So we as a commission, the Sierra Leone National Human Rights Commission, we sit at the top. We play game with them. I mean, the big boys. We have a very free platform, you know, at UN meetings to talk. So this is what actually it means. When this assessment was done, the assessment was done a few months ago, last year, in fact. There are some other countries that were, graded downwards. Some were A, they brought them to B. Some were C, and some were B, they brought them down to C. And it is because of their work they do. It's about whether they are independent. And for us, I mean, that is what we jealously protect. Yes, government pays our salaries, government pay, we are a subvented agency, but in terms of our operations, I mean, no government authority or no politician generally will tell us what to do or what not to do. We are ensuring that at all times we are independent, and we ensure that we go by a mandate to ensuring that the right of everybody is protected and promoted. And that is why we continue to receive a grade A national human rights institution status. And we are very proud of that. It means that indeed, I mean, civil society organizations that are across this country, which we are also contacted by United Nations, they were interviewed, even without us knowing. We don't even know them, but we know that they did that. And that also the United Nations has been watching us. You know, when the American Embassy quite recently put out their reports, you see at page 13, they tell you clearly that the National Human Rights Institution of Sierra Leone has been really relatively doing their job. They have been ensuring that their mandates, has been protected without any, obstruction, without any influence by any external factor. So that is what we continue to do to serve the people of this country. Because today, you know, you could be, you could have some protection, some form of protection, but tomorrow you are no longer in that position that you are, and you need institutions to assist you, to help you, to protect your rights. And that is why we ensure that it doesn't matter where you come from, where you are, in the north, in the south, in the east, you are black, you are A, we don't want to know. What we want to know is that you are a Sierra Leonean or you are living in Sierra Leone, even if you are a foreigner. We have been working also to ensuring that the rights of even foreigners are protected. So that is what we do, and we do that, without any equivocation, we do that without any fear of favor, and without anything that will influence us. That is why we continue to maintain our grade status. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Victor Idrissa Lansana, Vice Chairman for the Human Rights Commission, Sierra Leone, for joining us on the show this morning. Let's now take a quick word from our sponsors, and then when we come back, we go to the final segment of the show.
Every day, the world wakes up to you. Millions of people are getting ready for you. For shopping, travel expenses, utility bills, trade, and commerce. If we all have wishes, then what is your financial transaction wish?
I'd like to have a choice.
I'd like convenience.
I'd like to pay for goods and services on the go.
I'd like to pay utility bills on the go, out of credit and data, buy some mobile top-up, still on my phone. Oops, light out. I'll buy some ETSA, still on my phone.
I'd like to make payment from my account to another account through my mobile phone.
As a chef for company, I would like my staff to receive their salaries through bulk e-payment without the risk of transporting cash.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo does it all.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo. Think of it as
money when you're close to home and when you're away from home for unexpected expenses, and money for those times when cash fails.
If you can dream it, you can become it. If you can imagine it, you can achieve it.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo is all you need.
We are now days away from Sierra Leone's dates with destiny, the June 24th general election. In this defining moment in the history of Sierra Leone, here at AYV, we recognize the mantle thrust upon us to be the voice of the nation fully.
We take our task to ensure fair coverage seriously. We intend to honor our pledge to you, to be your home of all things credible, factual, and all times balanced news. Totally This is our commitment to you. We have witnessed non-stop hours of groundbreaking broadcast. In an effort that saw AYV rolled out 8 studios across Sierra Leone, at Star Hill, Aberdeen, Makeni, Kenema, Bow, and London, with almost 3 kilometers of coaxial cable laid, connecting 4 ground teams that consume almost 100 liters of coffee from Chef Taina. The most important number is 2. Out of dozens of aspirants, only 2 men have emerged from the conventions in February as flag bearers of the APC and SLPP. Retired Brigadier Julius Madabio and Dr. Samuel Matthew Wilson Tamara.
So far, we have witnessed a lot of intrigues. Maybe this is the beginning. Defections and realignments have been plenty. We don't know if there's more to come.
The only thing you can guarantee right now is that your home of credible, factual, and balanced news and analysis, AYV Media Empire, will bring you every twist and turn of this amazing race in full color and in high definition.
Oh yeah, Talking Point platform, TTPTV. Oh yeah, Unale we pledge, we love and loyalty to we sweet, sweet mama salute. Now we all come together as well on. For tomorrow, now we go make salute. Oh yeah, Talking Point platform, TTPTV. Oh yeah, Unale we pledge, we love and loyalty to we sweet, sweet mama salute. Now we all come together as well on. For tomorrow, now we go make salute. Talking Point platform for news every day. Now we can't salute
In a final
for
segment,
education.
the Commission for Peace and National Cohesion was established on the power to take measures to prevent, manage, and resolve conflicts, to build, promote, and maintain sustainable peace in Sierra Leone, and to provide for other related matters. The Commission over the last 2 months has been engaging in peace and national cohesion ahead of the June 24th elections. So this morning, to talk on the Commission's activities, we have Hawa Samai, who's the Executive Secretary for Independent Commission for Peace and National Cohesion. Welcome. And we also have Yulisa Amadou, the appointed youth envoy by President Julius Madabio, and he's here to talk on his appointment and how young people should refrain from violence ahead of the June 24th elections. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you.
So first, let's start off the conversation with you, Hawa. Can you briefly tell us about the Independent Commission for Peace?
Thank you for inviting us again here. The Independent Commission for Peace and National Cohesion was set up by an Act of Parliament in 2020. And in 2021, the Secretariat started. And the Secretariat has board of directors, 9 board of directors, with our chairman being the Reverend Shudanke Johnson, and I'm the executive secretary, and we have regional offices across the country, and we also have staffs across the country, and our mandate, as you rightly say, is to foster peace and national cohesion around the country. And this is exactly what we've been doing. The commission have also been launched officially this year in April. So officially now, the commission is just under 2 years old. And if you would think about business startup, you will realize that starting up an institution from scratch is not an easy thing. So we've been working for the first year on internal and external policies and also staff recruitment and also establishing the office itself, the physical office. And for the second segment, we've been working a lot on elections preparedness, and that's exactly why I'm here today. And in this elections preparedness, before the elections preparedness, we were able to achieve our strategic plan, where we had national consultations around the country. It was very inclusive, where we had civil society, political parties, inter-religious council, women's group, youth group, even children participated in that strategic plan, and even donor partners were all inclusive to ensure that we have a very formidable, with recommendations from the Truth and Reconciliation part of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, because we were set up because of the Truth and Reconciliation recommendation. And also Kofi Annan, why was Secretary General, also recommend that countries that have gone through war, semblance of war, should set up infrastructures of peace. And also the Bintu Mani 3 recommendation, where citizens of this country ascertain that we need this commission so that it will help foster peace and national cohesion around the country. And thanks to the president, because before now, even with the Truth and Reconciliation recommendation, advocacy had been going on through civil society, and we were yet to establish this recommendation. But now with citizens' recommendation, this commission have been established, and we've ensured that since its inception, we've been working around the clock with civil society and citizens around the country. We have ensured that we've set up coalitions, because remember, people have already been working on peace before we were established. So the civil society that have been working on peace before we were established, we've set up peace coalitions at district level. So around the country, we will now have peace coalitions that we're working with. And also, we're also working with formidable organizations and institutions, government institutions, so that will foster our mandate as prescribed by the Act of Parliament.
Okay, so before we come over to Ulysses to talk about his appointment as the youth envoy, the TRC report, the Bintu Mani 3 recommendations, these are all beautiful documents. And you've also mentioned your objectives in line with the TRC report. And few days back, I think in last week, we saw political party leaders actually pledge their commitment to maintaining peace as we approach elections, before elections, during the elections, and after the elections. What would you say about the reality on ground? Are we seeing a top-level assurance of peace, or is this actually being manifested on the ground?
Okay, firstly, before I dive into that, let me just say a little bit of what we've been doing, what we've set up as a commission to ensure that we help foster peace and national cohesion. We've set up a situation room, and this situation room have a toll-free line of 898 from any network, where people could call in and report whatever issues. And to work with the situation room, the mechanism on the ground, we have peace monitors. We have over 600 peace monitors around the country, a minimum of 25 per district. And we also have set up mediation team. We want this to be community-owned structures. And part of this mediation teams, we have not parliamentarians, we have paramount chiefs. We also have the women's group. We have youth group. We also have ONS, because they deal with security. And we also have inter-religious council. Why? These are people already on the ground, and they've been working with us and with their communities. They understand their communities better. And all the structures, as I just explained, that we're setting up would not be just for elections. They will become a permanent, integral structure within the Peace Commission itself. So it's a long haul, it's a long run. We should realize that elections is not just a one-day business. It's a process. Even post-elections activity, we're already preparing towards that. And let me go back to your question. With what's been going on, if we are to assess Sierra Leone with other countries, not just African countries, the world over, with elections, I will say we've been relatively peaceful. Elections normally around the globe, there are a lot of agreements and disagreements. Campaigns, that's all about it's who wins the hearts and minds of the people. And we should expect some of these, I'm not saying fighting, this disagreement to agreement. And that's exactly what's been going on. But I'm sure for now, we could say we've been very tolerant. We've been very acceptant to each other. Not 100%, because we've seen some skirmishes in some areas reported in our situation room already. And we're working with our teams on the ground and with ONS to see how we could mediate, and where we cannot, how the securities could handle some of this issue, or the police themselves. We're working hand in glove with these different institutions. And with what the presidential candidates have signed up to, these are, what should I say? I would say these are the commitments they've already been making even before signing this. But we've already said in one of our press releases that we want to see how this could trickle down to their supporters. It's not about them signing the commitment of, yes, I'll be peaceful. And honestly, they are peaceful people. Apart from some inciting statement that they've made, some of them have made a few times back, but I would say they've been very peaceful. But how does this trickle down to their voters? And that is what we are yet to see. How would they speak peace to them, and how would they corral them to ensure that they remain peaceful throughout this entire process and use the appropriate referral processes or channels where need be?
Okay, so now over to you, Yulisa. First off, I'd like to start by saying congratulations.
Thank you.
We see a very last-minute appointment as the youth envoy. Can you tell us what this position is all about?
Thank you very much. And we all know how much the youth mean to the president. And you've listened to his manifesto. He mentioned time and again that it's an era and a time for youth involvement, inclusivity. It's a radical inclusion. And make no mistake, if we're giving over 30% to women in the next administration, it means the bulk of the population who are youths, myself, yourself, have to be part of the decision making. We have to be part of the table. We have to be on the table to be able to contribute inclusively to decisions that concern us. So I wouldn't call it a last minute appointment, because it is rather, we've been waiting for this. We've been looking forward to it. We want to see more youths on the table. Imagine walking to the room where decisions are made about our health, education, empowerment, development, everything. And you just can count the youths with your fingers, perhaps just one youth or two. And that's the difference the president is making. Having more youths with authority, youths that can have a voice and be part of the decision making. So yes, the appointment is one that will create a difference for every youth in Sierra Leone, devoid of your political allegiance. This is not APC, SLPP, PMDC, or whatever party. It's a youth. And if you look at my background from where I come, I mean, for most of the viewers and even some of you in the studio, know that I am one person who has not been publicly involved in any political business or political parties. And so I'm sure the president, in his wisdom, deemed it fit that we need someone who could be a peacemaker, someone who could be a voice for all Sierra Leoneans, not just the SLPP or APC, but for every youth in the country. Because issues affecting youth do not just affect APC or SLPP, they affect every youth of this country. And of course, unemployment. Of course, issues surrounding, there's no equality when it comes to even justice. I mean, this is not something that's happening just now. It has always been like this. Recently, I launched my foundation where I supported to release, well, of course, I paid some lawyers who advocated for young people, youths in prison system, and they had to free them from prison. And that was when I came to realize that indeed, it's not about political parties. There were some that were SLPP, and there were some that were APC. Youths are everywhere, and it's about time we have a voice. And I'm sure the president in his wisdom deemed the fit that we needed someone who could be an advocate, not just here in Sierra Leone, but outside in the world as well. And that's why, as an envoy, I will be actively involved in the United Nations work with the youth envoy at the UN, also ensure the people you need, the youths. So we're definitely going to also see how we can enhance that, make it bigger, bring opportunities of youth farms, also get youths in the unskilled labor, the youths in the mining sector. How can we make it better? Youths in, well, of course, diplomacy. It's a robust plan. And I'm sure the Minister of Youth, the Deputy, and other key players on the ground will have their part to play, and hence the need for an envoy who would be all around the world ensuring that Sierra Leonean youths have access to these opportunities, these grants, these scholarships. I'm sure you are aware of the YALI, the Mandela Washington Fellowship. How can we leverage on that? How can we increase it? How can we advocate to have more seats in YALI? How can we host perhaps the biggest youth conference in Sierra Leone?
You know, just a minute before Matia comes in, are we going to see a clash or duplication of efforts between yourself and the Ministry of Youth?
Okay, that's a question I've had a couple of times, but I want to make this clear. The Minister of Youth is the line minister in charge of all youth affairs. And I would definitely say he's my boss. But notwithstanding, we need an envoy. An envoy is a person who goes with the face, the representative, and you carry Sierra Leone on your shoulder. And I'm sure I look good enough to carry Sierra Leone on my shoulder. Exactly. That's an envoy. For instance, one of the key issues I want to address in my first 30 days would be the issue of our young sisters in Saudi Arabia, in Pakistan, working as maids or working as unskilled labor. We've had series of complaints. As an envoy, I'm going there to engage these girls, engage the authorities. What are you doing for them? Who do you talk to when you have issues? When they have clashes with their bosses, with the recruiters, what happens? It's not just the job of the labor agencies or, we are youths, and that's why we are the voices. The president cares about them. And that's why we are having an envoy this time to ensure that whilst the minister handles everything on the ground, there is a voice, a strong voice at that, who go all around the world, put the pressure, pull the plugs to ensure that Sierra Leonean youth have access to technology, the high-grade first class, has access to all the grants, the scholarships. We want to see more youths grow in everything you do. We also want to see we sign up deals. Like, for instance, content creators in Sierra Leone still cannot make money from their content. Friends have to call me in the US, Ulissa, can you please use my account to monetize my Facebook, monetize my YouTube? These are things we have to cross. And the president knows that a strong voice behind this could be Ulissa. And here I am, your youth envoy. Because President Bio believes that it is about time that Sierra Leonean youths are not just youths like every other country, but we are the Sierra Leone, the Lion Mountain. And it's about time we show that we are the lions. And that's why if you see that the president goes everywhere these days, all you hear is the lion, the conqueror, the emperor is here. And I tell you, the youth envoy is here.
All right, now let's take a step back, and I would like to cue from Elizabeth's question. Firstly, you've worked extensively with youth from your days as Fabulous, as I see you smiling, as Dr. Love, and your engagement with youth online, on radio, etc., etc. But again, the question remains the same: is we have several offices already, and by extension, most of the functions which you shall be performing are already being performed under these institutions. For example, the Ministry of Youth, the National Youth Commission, the Youth Service, the National Youth Council, and you have youth representative as low as district and village level. What would your interaction be from top to bottom and from bottom to top, even before we talk about you leaving the country as an envoy, as a youth ambassador to engage in youth, Sierra Leonean youth outside or seeking the interest of youth?
Okay, let me also make this clear. This time, we're taking youth issues very seriously. And this is a manifestation that the president really takes it seriously. The foreign policy or foreign diplomacy, you have the foreign minister, and you have over several ambassadors. Is that a duplication of role? No, I mean, the foreign minister's role is to ensure that bilateral relationships with countries, but we have several ambassadors because diplomacy and foreign policy or foreign issues are close to a country's heart. Hence, youth matters. Henceforth, President Bio is saying, apart from creating 500,000 jobs for youths, which includes myself and you, we're also ensuring it's not just jobs as contractors on the roads, I mean, with all respect to those, but also jobs in foreign policies, in diplomacy. So yes, we're expanding that. And let me shock you. This is just the start. Because as with my mandate, I'll be working closely with the foreign ministry as well. We're working behind closed doors to see if we can have youth attachés at big embassies. We want to see youths in every place. It's a new era. So spread the word, spread the message, and know that it's about time you re-elect President Bio, because we are taking youth matters very seriously this time. We've always taken them seriously, but now we're expanding it. And more people are coming on board to ensure that this happens. And I'll tell you something interesting. I was in the US. I never had the slightest intentions that I was going to be part of, well, of course, back to Sierra Leone to be involved in governance in any form of or shape. And then President Bio visited. He was delivering a speech somewhere. I was in the audience. I shed tears. Why? Because I saw a leader who believes in the vision that I believe in. I mean, I say whoever named the country Sierra Leone surely had a vision. And whoever elected President Bio surely had a vision. And I'm asking all to have that same vision now, because we are shaping Sierra Leone. It's a radical inclusion.
Now, let's speak to some of your personal skills quickly over the years that you've gathered and how instrumental they'll be to this position. You've worked extensively in the entertainment industry, in the communications industry, and you are an entrepreneur as well. And President Bio is seeking to create 500,000 jobs. If I can break that down, it means 100,000 jobs every year. How would your office aid in that, in achieving that goal?
As a communication professional, I mean, being served in one of the biggest telecommunications company in the country, I can say I know what it means to rebrand the country, and the president's goal has been rebranding Sierra Leone publicly and out there. And so, yes, creating more jobs means we have to also sell the idea of creating more jobs. And that means in the individuals in the creative industry will definitely have jobs. Things have changed. Now we have people who would grow up, say, I want to grow up to be a content creator. I want to be a YouTuber, for instance, and they're making millions and millions of dollars out there. So yes, it's not just going to be jobs in the skilled industry, but there are going to be jobs in diverse areas, agriculture, which is very key and close to the president's heart. We're also going to see areas in entrepreneurship. That means there will be available grants. Recently, the Ministry of Youth had some Ebola funds that they, excuse my French, the COVID funds that they use to support small businesses, individuals whose businesses are affected by the COVID-19. Also, NACSA is dishing out millions of loans to individuals. And this time, there will become lots of seminars and creative programs where we would have to teach these young people how to be good startups. Like my friend from the Peace Coalition was saying, that it's like a startup business. We'll take them through the process. Recently, if you're aware as well, I launched the Ulisa Amadu Seed Grant for small businesses, where I dosed out about $4,000 to 2 individuals who won and all of that. So yes, these skills will be applied. And of course, the right channels will be followed. Individuals who are also involved in this process behind closed doors with the president will work on them. But that is why some of us will be on the table to bring these ideas up front. Because as a youth myself, I know exactly what our problems are. I know what we want. And don't tell me I have silver spoon in my mouth. I don't. I'm from Kenema. I'm from Sierra Leone. There have been times I walked on the streets of Freetown without a penny in my pocket. There have been times I've actually begged for something to eat. So yes, we've come to the table to bring these ideas to see how we can transform the lives of Sierra Leoneans. And what a better person would you have than someone who's been through it all? Someone who's gone to college and have to, do what you have to do to pass. Just because if you don't do it, you're not going to pass. Who better will understand those situations to stand up to the administration or stand up to individuals who would know that you're not saying things because you read it from the books. You're saying it because you've seen it, you've felt it, you've done it. And that's exactly why I feel, I have a lot of skills I bring to the table apart from the communication, the journalism, being the popular Dr. Love, which I feel it's also very related to this road, because I will have to charm the hearts of investors out of Sierra Leone, charm the hearts of ambassadors out of Sierra Leone. I have a meeting with the Turkish ambassador in the next few hours from now, and my goal is to see how we can team up with Turkey, which is Turkey is doing amazingly well. How we can team up with Turkey and see what grants are available for Sierra Leonean youths, scholarships to increase the quota. Also see how we can pay attention to agriculture, which is really, really close to my heart. We want to feed the country. Food will definitely be sufficient pretty soon. And that's all things we're working on. I'm also working on a meeting with the US ambassador to see how we can increase the Mandela Washington Fellowship quota for Sierra Leone. These are not easy things to do. You need to charm the hearts. So yes, there comes the Dr. Love policy.
Okay, so you've been working with the entertainment industry as well. You
Yes.
helped out with Emerson, and is there any plans the Youth Envoy would also help with the entertainment industry? And we've also seen before now, Madam Samaya, I know you've worked with artists. You've brought together Caldinero and Elijah the last time for a peace concert. So before I come over to you, are we going to see anything with your involvement in the entertainment industry?
I'm an entertainer myself. The fact that I create content and want people to follow me with my 300,000 followers on TikTok means I'm an entertainer myself. So you cannot take that away from us youths, where this is our generation. We are the TikTok generation. Even as I'm sitting here, I want to go on TikTok and say, hey guys, I'm on, and I'm on TV. That is it. So I'm not going to stop being part of the entertainment industry. Rather, this is an opportunity for youths in entertainment, in sport, in every strata of society. So we're going to look into every area. I'm still actively involved in entertainment. Myself, Drizzly, I-Tribe are talking for a tour all over the world. Recently in February, I took I-Tribe and Drizzly to the US for a tour in the One Salone Music Festival with some boys that I work with in the US. Also, of course, I toured over many states with Emerson and a couple of other artists that I'm working with behind closed doors. So yes, it's about time we go into this one. We're only expanding it. We're only making the stage bigger. And with this opportunity, as an envoy, we are making entertainment bigger. And yes, there's an entertainment envoy. I will be working closely with him as well. Like I said, it's like every department or agency in government and non-government that has to do with youths, I will definitely knock at your door. Even with the Peace Coalition, we want to see how we can be actively involved in the electionary process to preach peace, which we are going to start immediately. Whilst everyone is preaching campaign, we are going to be preaching peace in schools, in universities, on the radio, on TV, everywhere. Also, using the communication skills I have, we'll bring out communication tools, Google Ads, Facebook, everywhere. We are definitely making a difference this time around.
Madam Sama, you have a track record of working with organizations supporting peace, from AMNET, and now you're here at the Independent Commission for Peace and National Cohesion. How are you going to use this new position to foster peace?
We've been doing a lot already. I'm just smiling when my brother here is bringing youth on board. We're very youthful, very, very youthful at heart at the commission. I always say that I'm a youth myself. So we have been doing a lot in terms of bringing all these different parties on board. Yesterday, we even had a meeting with the TikTokers, and we also bringing on board the comedians. We've had meetings with the comedians, and we also have a meeting with some youthful media houses. We want to see how they could help us disseminate, because we know that the first playground in Sierra Leone now is social media. So we want to see how they could take social media with the peace messages, which we believe will trickle down to the ground. As we're campaigning, we want to bring the juicy part out of the campaigns, the fun and all the rest, to make it a peace message. And these we'll be doing on TVs, on radios, and on the social media. A lot of comedy. We want a lot of comedy to be going on. So we'll not feel the tensions that are mounting. We would be able to subsidize that with laughters and fun, and we'll be able to sail through the elections peacefully. These are some of the activities. As for the musicians, of course, with even our launching and the International Peace Day, you will notice that we brought in a lot of musicians and young musicians, new talented musicians. We didn't just look for the old phases. We brought in a lot of new phases, and people were very appreciative of some of the new phases that we brought in, and we'll continue to bring in a lot of this. We'll be housed under the same roof. We'll have an election hub where the ECSL, PPRC, ourselves, human rights will all be housed for the elections. And during the entire process, we'll bring in all these people on board. So whilst we're waiting for the result to be counted, we'll be having comedians. So at least people will be feeling relaxed rather than all the vibes that we normally feel. We'll have the musicians that will be singing. We have to remember that only one person can win these elections, and people need to be prepared that one party might lose and one party would win. So Who would win and who will lose? You as the new slogan for the national election is SAFFUL. We'll foresee on SAFFUL after that person had won or after that person has lost their elections, and we continue our daily life. Elections should be seen as a progressive development, not something that will have to stagnate the entire economy and the country because of elections itself. We're very happy for now that we see a lot of peace messages is going on in every district because we're monitoring every district. Even some institutions without funds are taking it upon themselves to go about with peace campaigns and peace messaging. We're following them and we'll continue to support them in whatever way we can to ensure that Sierra Leone continue to maintain peace and cohesiveness, because inclusivity and cohesiveness is key with this election. No one party could win with one tribe. We must remember that. For any party to win, it means that people should have voted for them in every district. So it means that we need the cohesiveness in our peace building and in our elections campaign as we drive towards the end, towards the 24th. And 24 is not even the day, just the voting day. We have to wait for the announcement of the results.
All right, continue to stay with us, Awasamai and Yolisa. We now have Ransom McLean all set for a brief sport update. Ransford, good morning.
Good morning, good morning to Elizabeth and our guests who've been with us, and viewers as well who've been following the show. Now to our first story, the Sierra Leone Gymnastic Federation, with support from the Olympic Solidarity and the International Gymnastic Federation, have concluded a week-long orientation ceremony on the development of the national sports system for children between 7 to 15 years. President of the Sierra Leone Gymnastic Federation, Anna Williams, says the training has been a big success as they have boosted 50 gymnasts within the age 7 to 15 years.
I am proud to inform you all that the training has been a big success. Today we can boast of 50 gymnasts between the age of 7 to 15 who have received international standard training on rhythmic gymnastics. With this, I can assure you that the future of rhythmic gymnastics is very bright. And the Gymnastic Federation is generally will make good use of the results to be better. The Sierra Leone Gymnastic Federation is among the youngest sports in Sierra Leone, yet it has become one of the fastest growing sports in the country. Today we are proud to say that the sport is being practicalized.
That session was only introduction for the new sport in Sierra Leone, rhythmic gymnastics. It's very popular sport in Europe, especially for the girls. It's developed for the boys, but mostly it's for the girls. Grace, feminine, beautiful, well posture, confidence, everything what the women must have in nowadays. It's developed, and then we will have the beautiful people in life. And then it's a teach life skills, which is in the life discipline. If you start something, you have to finish.
Now to football, as I close, 23-year-old Rod Michael Jr., an attacking midfielder, has made his 10th Moldovan First League appearance since he joined them in February this year. His goal for his side came in the 65th minute of play and made an assist to Rajovic in the opening 7 minutes of play against Barnet FC on their first leg playoff to give them a well-deserved victory. We're looking forward for more on that. And finally, the Sierra Leone Premier League board in a presser has informed the public and the Premier League clubs that they have done some adjustments for some Premier League matches, especially for week 20. It's according to the presser. Some matches have been rescheduled. That's Mighty Blackpool and FC Cologne, who play on the 4th of June. East and Tigers will battle against Rangers on the 4th as well. And Wilberforce Strikers was one of the strugglers will battle against Lower FC at Angola Field on Monday, the 5th of June this year. And the international finally, Seville punish AS Roma by on a post-game penalty to retain the championship due to a post-game penalty. And it has been the first time over 20 years Jose Mourinho lose a final in a European competition. Well, that's all for sports. And back to Ibokai Matia and Elizabeth Momo in the main studio.
Thank you very much, Ransom McLean, for giving us a round update of the sports. As we close, Julissa, what will be your message to the youth?
My message is simple and clear. In this election, don't let anyone use you or use your vote for their own personal gains, especially if it has to mean you do things that do not represent you, your heritage, your family. Or where you're coming from. Remember, Sierra Leone is bigger for all of us, and that should be key in everyone's heart. That means peace should be the way to go. That means violence is not the answer. I mean, I would not let you sit and listen to someone who tells you, come out in the street, hold stones, do this. And I mean, why would you allow yourself to be used by individuals? Even if it's the politician telling you directly, even if it's your chairman and leader, you don't need to do that, because your life counts, your family cares about you, I care about you as your youth ambassador, and I'm asking you to know that election is not a do or die matter. This will come and pass, and we'll still be here. We are Sierra Leoneans. When you go for relationships, you don't consider what tribe or what political party you belong to. I hardly ever had the question like, so which party do you support? Before you actually toast a woman, or before you actually ask for someone's hand in marriage. So why would you care what political party someone supports or they're going to vote for before you can be friends or, do something during election processes? Let's right there, Julius Maada Bio, because his mandate and his plan for Sierra Leonean youths, I have seen it, I have felt it, and I know exactly how it's coming out. Let's vote.
All right, Hawasa, from the youth, from the Peace Commission, what will be the message?
Firstly, I want to say that we're Sierra Leoneans. And it means that our roots is Sierra Leone. When we're leaving the shores of Freetown, it means nobody asks you what tribe you are. They said, where's your passport? Or where's your ID card? And what you submit is that I am a Sierra Leonean. So be that Sierra Leonean that you're supposed to be. And we should also remember that Sierra Leone is in the 5th place in Africa, 5th most peaceful country in Africa. And for West Africa, we're 3rd. And for the Mano River Union, we're the most peaceful country in Mano River Union. It means that if we destabilize a country, going to Liberia, it means you're not going to a peaceful country. Going to Guinea, in fact, there was a strike in Guinea a few days ago. It's not peaceful. And it's the rainy season. If you want to jump into the sea is already boiling. You don't want that. During the war, when people decided to cross the sea to Conakry, a lot of people died before even arriving. So we don't want that. Let's keep the peace. We are the most peaceful country in the Mano River Union. And let's keep it from our hearts, because peace starts with us, right? 2 people cannot quarrel if one person says that I'll remain peaceful. Peace starts with you, so let's keep it. And if you have any problem, we have a toll-free line, 898. From any network, you don't need to speak English, you don't need to speak Creole, whatever language. We have language people in that situation room to answer to your call and to report your incidences. We would be there to help you at your district, at your villages, or in your towns to make sure that we maintain peace and cohesiveness throughout this election process.
Okay, this is where we round up the conversation. This morning, we've been talking to Yulisa Amadou, who is the youth envoy, and also Hawasa Mai, who is from the Independent Commission for Peace and National Cohesion. So this is where we'll end today's edition of Wake Up Sierra Leone. Our quote for today says, peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding, and it comes from Albert Einstein, a German-born theoretical physicist.
We say thanks to our sponsor, Local Commercial Bank, for their support to the program. Continue to watch AYV throughout the day as we have other exciting programs coming up. Till we meet again tomorrow with more interesting topics here on Wake Up Sierra Leone. We've been the presenters. I am Bokari Matia.
And I am Elizabeth Momodu. Have a lovely day.
Oh yeah, Talking Point platform, TTPTV. Oh yeah, Unale we pledge, we love and loyalty to we sweet mama Salone. Now we all come together as one. For tomorrow, now we go make Salone.